Since 2015, Pop Health Podcast has brought to you some of the best minds in healthcare, including leaders from government, not-for-profit, and investor-backed powerhouses, as they share successes, failures, and how our audience can move forward in today's constantly evolving healthcare world. Thank you for joining us for today's episode presented by 24 Hour Home Care. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pop Health Podcast. I'm Gavin Ward, host of Pop Health Podcast. In today's episode, I had the privilege of sitting down with Nicole Murray, who serves as the Executive Director for U.S. VETS Inland Empire. If you're not aware, U.S. VETS is a national organization serving veterans and doing the best they can to eradicate the experience of homelessness for veterans. She shares a little bit about a groundbreaking in San Bernardino where they're building 30 units of housing for individuals experiencing homelessness that are veterans. She talks about the Steps for Vets program that's a fundraiser for their organization, and she shares about the great work of their social workers here in the month of March, which, if you're not aware, is Social Work Month. We hope you enjoyed today's episode on U.S. Vets. Feel free to check out other episodes of Pop Health Podcast by visiting us at pophealthpodcast.com, checking us out on our YouTube channel, or visiting us wherever you listen to your shows. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy today's episode. Nicole, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome. I know it's been a big week for you, which we'll get into in just a second. And folks, we're actually recording this on a Friday afternoon, and I was sharing with Nicole before we got started. What a fun way for me to end my Monday through Friday role, I guess you can say. Mm-hmm. So really appreciate it. I share with Nicole, I have family who are veterans, who get services out in the Inland Empire. So the work that you guys are doing there at U.S. Vets doesn't directly impact my family, but could potentially help my family if they ever have the need. So thank you so much. Nicole, before we get into what you all do there at U.S. Vets, I'd like to get to know you and our guests. We typically get to know to kick off an episode. So can you share with us a little bit about your background, maybe where you grew up, schooling, and ultimately how you ended up at U.S. Vets?
Well, it seems like from my background, I am a daughter of a Navy sailor. Okay. But I kind of feel like I didn't get a chance to really know the military way because I have 7 sisters. And by the time my father ended his tenure in the military, I was born then. So my sisters got a chance to do the military. Some of them got a chance to do the military thing and I didn't, but just grew up in Los Angeles, California, Inglewood, California. Oh yeah. And my family, it's always been family first. My poor dad with all these girls. Yes. We felt like we needed to be kind of his boys, but we were really girly girl boys. Like we weren't tomboys. So for us, we love football, we love sports, and we know the numbers and everything. But he just couldn't get a boy out of it. So, short of the story, they were blue collar workers. One thing that I did since in my upbringing that really navigated me into human services. Was my parents were those people. They worked at the post office. My dad worked days. My mom worked days. My dad worked nights. That they just went through that process. But we would have the little stray cat at the house. We would have people over for dinner that my mom and dad were like, we're going to invite them over. I learned not to love my dolls and maybe even my clothes. Sometimes I would come home and want to go to that favorite doll, and my mom would say, well, I was on my route and I saw a young lady and she just looked like she could use some things. So I packaged a few things from your box and gave it to her. I was like, At that point, I learned to be pretty selfless. It was like, nothing belongs to me and it belongs to the community, but I love the love that my parents showed. They were together for 25 years. They showed us that, we have a responsibility to be more than just, individuals in the world, but we needed to, give. We needed to, show the love of God. We needed to make sure that we were friends and conduits to people way early. And they showed us that in our living. So that kind of navigated me into this world of, giving and social services, and, just kind of wrapped me into wanting to philanthropy, be in the philanthropy space of serving people. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I want to hear more about what you did early on, in that world prior to US Vets. But before that, you mentioned Inglewood and sports. So of course I got to ask, Lakers, yay, nay?
No. I'm California, and you know what? If Larry Williams, our VP, is listening to this, he's going to really be mad at me. Okay. I am not a Lakers fan. I'm really I like the Clippers.
They're Inglewood now, right? Well, they're Inglewood, right? Into it.
They're kind of they're in Inglewood, but I'm the kind of person, I love the comeback story. I love the people who never get a lot of hoorah. I'm going for the underdog. Okay. So, but I do actually, for California, I love Golden State. So I know city-wise, but so Clippers and Golden State are my people, and San Francisco is my real football, nemesis of the world. But it's all California. That's how I make it work, right? It's all California.
Okay. Wow. I did not expect that, since you mentioned dad in the sports, you guys got into sports, Inglewood. Wow. Yeah. And Inglewood's a hotbed, especially now.
It is. It's the going place to be. So, really, really pivotal.
Yeah, that is awesome. Okay, cool. So thank you for sharing your story about your folks, by the way. Very selfless. And I love the way they raised you, where those things are not yours, but you're just a temporary steward. Mm-hmm. Right.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
Your mention of the higher power and all of that stuff, I thought was really cool. So you grow up, you're getting in the world to where you have to work, and tell us about your journey, where you ultimately, where you started maybe, and then how you ended up at US Vets.
Yeah, so I have over 33 years of working service. I work for nonprofit, profit, government, and public entities. 20 years in the human services. And it's just so funny that my background, I have a bachelor's degree in business from Cal State LA. And then I have a master's degree in business administration with a focus on nonprofit administration. Okay. But it was really being in all of those public and government and private entities that I feel like really started to thrust me, at least give me foundational support in being, in nonprofits, and really being able to steer the boats well in, our stewardship. And, sometimes people feel like, nonprofits are not businesses. Well, we're in the business of serving people. And if we don't have resources to get that resource to the people, then we're not doing our just due, right? Like if you're serving people, you got to have resources to serve them with, and you have to do that with a lot of diligence. And so I worked for several entities. As I was kind of coming up through my work tenure, I was able to service children. I worked for Para los Niños. It was an organization that was right downtown in Skid Row. Okay. Right in the middle of, Skid Row. And we were the biggest, brightest, beautifulest building there, because the children had to come and they had full day care, child care, before, after schools, charter schools and stuff like that. And then after serving children and families, I moved to public entity, which was Metropolitan Transportation Authority. And I was the procurement supervisor there. Okay. But it was funny. I did the RFPs and things of that nature. And small businesses would call me and say, hey, I'm trying to get this, request for proposal in. And it just seems unfair. We don't know what to do. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to help them. So eventually Metro asked me to start, which was first ever called the vendor fair. It was called the Metropolitan Vendor Fair, and it brought together big businesses, Metro, the school district, the water company, and all of them, and it allowed little businesses to learn how to, do business with big business. And
Yes.
and then they carved this little thing out. They were like, we don't know what you're doing over here in procurement, but we know you love these little people. So help them. Okay.
Yeah.
So for 5 years, I actually got a chance to do this vendor fair and, really be able to put components in to support small business doing big business. And they're still doing it. So it's wonderful. So from there, I continue to navigate. I migrated from Los Angeles to the Inland Empire, holding my fingers, to really pulling. My family kind of migrated in tribes. And so my sister, all of them, they moved out to the Inland Empire. And I was really LA driven. I wasn't going anywhere. That was my place. That was our space. I was seeding and soiling. And they said, Nicole, you're the last one. You got to come. So got to the Inland Empire, and I realized that it was pretty providential, that the next level of work was going to be necessary in the communities. My history is really, children, families, underserved communities, those that don't have a voice. It seemed like I've served everybody. I've served the dually diagnosed, those who have, disabilities. And then I got to the Inland Empire and looked around and saw disparities in schools and disparities in linkages and resources. And that, for me, it's the driving force. It's like, okay, where you can complain about these things, but are you going to participate in the solutions in moving the needle? So where do you need to be? And so I landed at a community action partnership of San Bernardino County, where they are an anti-poverty, designated anti-poverty program services for San Bernardino County. And then, so was out here doing that anti-poverty thing, in communities, making sure that I was serving families. And I got an opportunity presented itself from US VETS. And I always screen and interview the organization before I ever submit an application to go somewhere, because I believe our steps are ordered. I believe that if you stay a conduit and you stay humble in this process, then the impact can be great, as long as you keep focused on what you should be doing and where you have the best sphere of influence and where your skills and abilities should be applied. So I actually applied, and it was so long, I just didn't even remember that I had put the application in, and kind of they called me and I had to ask, who is this? And went through the process, right? And but I had already screened them. I was like, oh, a veteran organization. They're a large veteran organization. And then I kept looking around and saying, I don't see a lot of, even at my own organization where I was at, we had a very small subset, like 12 veterans that we had seen in a year. And I was like, who's serving the veterans in this community? And I didn't see a lot of statistics on that. I knew the VA was, but from the perspective of organization and bandwidth, I didn't see that. And then when I looked at US VETS, I said, oh my God, look at what they're doing. I didn't even know they existed. Yeah. Short of the story, I went and I interviewed. And my CEO tells me this all the time. I really didn't think I got the job. He was on his device, and then the VP was going, oh, yeah, he seemed like he was really into our interview, but the CEO didn't seem very interested. Okay. But he was the COO at that time. Okay. But we moved in, and evidently I got the job. And from there, that was in 2019. I have been running just to ensure, my heart is interwoven into the very mission of this organization. Like, it is truly a why for me.
Yeah.
My pathways have always had to be established in a why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What is this for? I mean, are you making impact? And I got to US Vets and I saw the opportunity to bandwidth this great mission and services in these big regions. And I said, I'm in for the challenge. And I have been here ever since, honored to serve those who served.
Yeah. And that's a great. You've been there 7 years. You got pulled into the IE
Yes.
with your family, which is great that you could be near your family. You mentioned your dad's, a sailor. Is it 7 girls he had or 8? You have 7 siblings or 7?
Yeah, 7. Yeah, he has 7. I'm one of the 7. So really, so it's 7. It's total 7. Yes.
All right. Gotcha. So that was a great lead up to what you're doing today. And one of the reasons the main reason that Nicole is here today is a big groundbreaking that I'd like to hear about. Can you share? So you guys, US Vets has been in the area in the IE for a while. You mentioned they're national. Maybe let me take a step back versus the groundbreaking. Could you give our audience an overview of who US Vets is, your programs and services, and who you're serving veterans? But yeah, just give us an overview.
Yeah. So let me start. I like to set atmospheres.
Okay.
Our mission here at US Vets is really, really, really simple. It's to prevent and end veteran homelessness, period. Like, we for real believe we're going to do that. And people are like, well, how are you going to do that? If you end veteran homelessness, then are you guys going to work yourself out of a job? Absolutely not. Because the services, the linkage, when we talk about social work and what that means, and health and wholeness. I mean, we'll get into a little of that, but I'm just saying the whole gamut is we'll all still be doing, prevention services. We'll still be here for our veterans. We'll still need housing. Like, nothing is going to change, but that veterans and homelessness is not going to be in the same sentence. So, US Vets started in 1993, and there was a Judge Harry Ferguson, that just looked at the combat veterans and saw the crisis with the unsheltered veterans, and he said, "I'm going to start a organization that combats this homeless veteran thing," and that was our Inglewood, California. That's considered our inaugural site. That was the first site that came on board with US Vets. We're the nation's largest nonprofit organization providing services to veterans and their families only. That is our only demographics. We are now in the current, we have 49 residential sites across 189 programs, 14 locations, and we're serving 20,000 veterans a year. Like, we for real mean this business in eradicating homelessness, but serving the veterans and our nation's heroes. So, we provide intervention and prevention services. That's housing, employment assistance. We do mental health care and suicide prevention. We have aftercare. We have peer support. We have a therapeutic community. When we're building, projects, we're intentional to wrap services around those projects that's on the first floor and or accessible to those who would be coming home to home. Like, they have access to those services, whether they need them or when they need them. Yeah. And so we do have 7 California sites. The Inland Empire, which you're speaking with today, is covers Riverside, which is the 12th largest county in California, and San Bernardino County, which is the largest county in the United States. Yeah. So our breadth, our demographic stretch, like, it's real. In the region, we still have 500 unhoused veterans, and that's still pretty egregious to us, right? Like, it's like not zero yet. So we have quite a bit of work to still do, but that's what we do. We're an organization on a mission to end this veteran homelessness. And I know that's the tagline, but all the poverty drivers, poverty drivers that keep, our military men and women falling in gaps that are unnecessary. You're talking about housing. You're talking about food and health.
Yes.
If those basic needs, those foundational needs are solidified in a journey, then you have a better launch into, coming back from your military service and really being able to move favorably through the process. And even if we haven't been on if we're not military people, if you have those basic needs solidified, your health is well, you have linkage to health care, and you can be well, prevention and things of that nature. It just made, I thought I turned this off my phone. So short of the story, we know that those things are necessary, and we wrap those services, benefits to the VA and, linkage to their health care, and then, senior services and things of that nature, so that we can be conduits of care.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is awesome. I had the recent privilege earlier this year to learn about your organization and actually go to one of your sites in Long Beach, and how you're mentioning like services on the first floor and the wraparound services. I mean, that whole community was a real example of what you're talking about, and really cool. And so you guys are building, maybe not an exact replica of Long Beach, but you did some groundbreaking recently where you're going to be building some
30 units.
30 units. Yeah. Tell us about the groundbreaking you had.
Couple days ago. So excited. I'm still on that high. Okay. Because when US VETS launched the Inland Empire US VETS,
okay.
We made a commitment to the communities that we were going to serve. Yes. And, hold us to it, right? I mean, seemed like, you write the vision and, sometimes it takes a little bit before it gets there, but it shall come to pass. And it seemed like in every presentation, and the city was like, hey, Nicole, you guys said you're going to build, when is this coming? When is this coming? Yeah. So we finally got to this impasse, and it was beautiful because the land in and of itself is, it was donated to us by the Jewish National Fund and John and Dora Abortion, who were Holocaust survivors. And it was so wonderful. They settled in San Bernardino and became lifetime residents there. And then after World War II, the Bortion started a new life, and John Bortion became a home builder.
Okay.
And he never forgot, the family sacrifice and the American soldiers that helped them secure their freedom. So in their estate plan, they said, we want you, Jewish National Fund, to give this land to an organization that serves veterans and will provide housing. And there it was. Jewish National Fund identified us and understood our mission and our assignment, and they gave us that land. And so we've been talking about it since I've been there. And we finally got to this place where we could build 30 beautiful units. One unit will be a manager's unit. And what's so beautiful about the housing projects that we do, it's all veterans. So the manager is going to be a veteran, everybody coming in and living in our therapeutic community is going to be veterans and their families, and veterans serve veterans too. They're supporters to one another. And so this project is right in the middle of San Bernardino, in the city of San Bernardino. It is going to shine the brightest light that there are good things that come out of San Bernardino, with all the stigma of homelessness and poverty. We refuse to accept that outcome. That is not what San Bernardino County and community cities are going to be. And we said this marks the commitment that we said to the community, the fruition of many partners coming together and caring about our nation's heroes. I don't know if you ever look at some of these performers, boy, I tell you, they can be about 500 people on it. But we invited everybody to the table. It was $28 million to get this thing launched. And our partners were just second to none. Like our community partners are second to none. If they didn't put money down, they were making ways for us. If they didn't add to this, they were coming and saying, what can we share? We can give this, we can give that. Like our community said, this is happening and we're going to see this moving. And so I can't wait. The same latter part of next year, 2027, we will be doing the ribbon cutting.
Okay.
And we will be welcoming some veterans home.
That is fantastic. I know it is hard to make these things happen. And so I can see why you're excited. I know you've been out there for a few years. So it's cool to see. I saw some photos recently through the news of the groundbreaking. So that's really neat. So you guys are doing that. But again, you guys aren't just we're a building that serves individuals experiencing homelessness. You do more, right? But that's a big part of what you do. You guys also have this Steps for Vets program. Can you talk about that?
Steps for Vets so we're a nonprofit organization. That's the other anomaly and the blessing that we have, right? Because a lot of times development projects are very expensive.
Oh yeah.
So you have to kind of front load a lot of that and still be able to manage your regular budget. So it's been a wonderful, our team is just so extraordinary. Our housing and development teams and those that are keeping us balanced on the board there. But we do fundraisers. If you can see behind me, we fundraise because we have to. You know, there are gaps in spaces and places. What we really talk about is expansion, right? When we get grants and funding, you know, it's earmarked for what it's earmarked for, and it does what it needs to do. But our fundraising efforts allows us to really expand, really fill in spaces and places where maybe some of our grants, you know, didn't, aren't able to do because their focus is that, and that's okay. So this is one of our biggest fundraisers every year. It's called Steps for Vets. You can run, you can walk, you can roll. Last year we had a sitting station. And you could just sit. You didn't have to walk. You could just sit and walk, with those little walk things. Yeah. Like we want people to come out and support it. It's a fundraiser for veterans, and the resources that we gain during this event goes right into the coffers to ensure that veterans in all shapes, forms, and fashions can be served.
That's great. And I know today's episode is really focused on the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, in particular with your groundbreaking and this walk. But this walk, for those of our audience, let me take a step back. Most of our audience, well, it's a national audience, but with a big percentage of that in California, right? So the Steps for Vets program, you mentioned you have lots of sites across the country. This is not just a San Bernardino thing, right? Like you guys have different walks throughout the state and country, correct?
We do. So the Inland Empire's walk happens to be on May 9th. It's Mother's Day weekend. Bring your mom. We can walk together.
Oh, I like that.
Let's do it with the dog and everything. And we're in Riverside at March Air Reserve Base on the outskirts, though. So yes, if you go to our website and you go to usvets.org/steps for vets, whatever region you're closest to, Houston is having one, Inglewood is having one, Long Beach is having one. Now we want to promote the Inland Empire. Y'all come to the California. It doesn't matter where you are. Come to the Inland Empire one. You get to walk around our building. We set steps purposely because we have the beautifulest building in the middle of what's going to become a veteran support community. And our building was our housing building was built right in the middle so that we would be that beacon of light. So come Saturday, May 9th. Registration starts at 7 a.m. and it's for such a good cause. 83 cents on every one of your dollar that you donate goes to veterans. And that's pretty good in this business.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you being transparent about that.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you to put that out there about kind of the admin costs and things like that. So yeah, March Air Force Base is awesome. If you guys haven't been there, I've taken my kids a couple times. I know the walk is around the outskirts and not in the base. However, it's a fun day if you do the walk. Check out the Air Force Base. There's a museum there. There's an In-N-Out. Those you like In-N-Out. It's right down the street.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know the area, so you get okay, Gavin. Come on with your team.
I'm no guarantees.
Okay.
All right, but I am considering. All right, I know I should I'd be a good host and be like, yes, I'll be there and all that stuff. I haven't talked to the wife or kids yet, so I can't.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. All right.
It is Mother's Day weekend, so but I think I'll make it work. Because that's on Saturday, right? Is the walk
on Saturday, and it's early. Yeah. We're gonna get our exercise in. And then we're going to be out of there by about 11.
Okay.
And it's going to be, and we do it, like I said, health and well-being is important, and we wanted to make sure, if we take care of the temple will take care of us as we do all the work we have to get done. So
I like it. You mentioned earlier in the episode about your organization and how all the work you do, and you mentioned social work is included. So March is Social Work Month. I've actually had the privilege of meeting one of your social workers a couple weeks back when I saw the Long Beach campus. I was there with a colleague of mine, and the work that social workers do is very difficult. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to go back to that and just see, if you could tell us a little about your social workers there in the IE or just throughout your organization and how they're on the front line supporting veterans.
Absolutely. So social work is a fundamental system of support, right? That is kind of purposed to promote and infuse change and collaboration and coordination. And so in our world, it represents our case managers and our outreach and our clinicians and they bridge gaps in these systems. So I know we spoke about it earlier as far as being conduits. Conduits are just, usable vessels to get to an outcome that is, looked for or preferred. And for us, sometimes the systems, you have to be massaged, you have to, collaborate, you have to shake hands. A lot of times, veterans get a little frustrated, and with social workers, because they're community builders, like they're the individuals that are willing to kind of go forth and assess what navigation plans we can do to get through those systems to get you to that outcome. And so we realize there are gaps in systems, right? But it's a holistic approach in prevention services, and it's geared towards the unique and complex needs of veterans. And that's what social work and month means to us. It's really galvanizing our superpower surrounding those complex needs and getting that veteran right to it, the positive outcome. And it's a collective effort. It's I know the VA and I have the VA rep on the phone and I've taken the paperwork and I've looked at, let me walk with you. We're not here to, veterans get to say, this is what I want my journey to look like. Yeah. And so we stand next to them in that and say, okay, how can we walk together in getting there? How can we support you in getting there? And that's what social work and means to us in the month. We're so appreciative of our social workers. Without them, I don't think social justice, I don't think the collaboration, I mean, they embody what, coordinating and navigating and getting to that positive income looks like. The social worker is the one that ensures that happens. And that's our group and our employees as well.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the shout out and you helping our audience know how they walk alongside the veteran. It's hard, right? It's hard work. It's not easy. And they can see hopefully some really cool outcomes through their work, especially as veterans. Some of them move beyond homelessness and into that ultimately a permanent housing environment and getting work and things like that. So I'm glad you were able to give a shout out to your social workers in the month of March, as this episode is released on the last day of March. So if you folks are hearing this, the day it's released, please acknowledge your social workers or social workers in your life. But even if it's in April when you hear it, you can still acknowledge the work that social workers do. Nicole, it's been awesome to hear about US Vets, your journey, your dad, the big family. They're now in the IE. As we wrap up, is there anything I didn't cover that you think the folks that listen to today's episode should know about US Vets?
Well, I really believe that, there is more than a duty that we have when it comes down to our military men and women. A lot of times we see our military servicemen and women and we say, thank you for your service. But it's got to be greater than that. Like our thank you has to become an action word so that those tangibles hit the ground. They know, the heartfelt sentiments from a thank you for your service. But, I like to be about what we want to see. Like I want you all in the world that's listening to know that our veterans are important to our world, to our wholeness, and they are owed a debt of gratitude that translates into action. It should never be that after they have given up their lives, they have given up their families, some of them have died for the cause, to come back and not have their basic needs taken care of, not have a home, not be able to tap into their resources and services. And so I feel like it's an all of us situation. US Vets is just really, raising the bloodstained banner and saying, come on, guys, get with it. Our military men and women need our support. And US Vets is here for it. We're going to stand on it. You can join us. You can volunteer. You can participate. You can, like us. Whatever you do, go to Camos to Careers. We have the camo, garb as well. You can go and purchase you some camo. So every time somebody sees you in camo, if they ask you, are you a military person? No, but I'm supporting the military and I want you to too. So that's what I would say. Just be conscious of, those who have served and in your sphere of influence, be an impactor, be a driver of change so we can see this veteran homelessness eradicated.
Awesome. Well, a lot of wise words there, a lot of passion there, Nicole. Again, really appreciate you sharing about US Vets. Folks, you can see in the background the event in May. Go to usvets.org. I think I got that right. To learn more and potentially sign up. I see that QR code as well. I really appreciate you joining today's show, Nicole. Thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of Pop Health Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you have and want to check out other episodes, visit us at pophealthpodcast.com, iTunes or Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, and now YouTube as well. Take care.